What is going on, guys? It's Joe back again with another video talking about the Kansas State Wildcats. And today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal. I've been talking a lot about the transfer portal lately and talking to you about the future of college basketball. I get a little bit distracted sometimes and just focus on the transfer portal and not enough on the incoming freshmen in the next couple of years. In today's video, we're going to talk about 7 dudes I think that could end up in Manhattan in the class of 2024 or 2025. We've been in contact with 7 different top prospects, and I want to detail what I know about each of them from right now, letting you guys know where we're at going forward. Now, let me start it off by saying every single player on this list, 1 through 7, no matter who it is, every single one of them, if they joined Manhattan, if they went to K-State, they would be a top 5 recruit all time in K-State history. Every single dude on this list that I'm going to talk about is getting contacted by K-State, Jareem Dowling, Jerome Tang, Austin Carpenter, whoever you want to say, somebody from K-State has been in contact with these top recruits. Let me show you the list I have working here today. And I've ordered these guys from most likely to least likely, at least in terms of crystal ball projection, which, I'll let you be the decider of what's most likely, what's least likely. But either way, I've laid it out like this, 1 through 7. Starting things out, we have got Will Riley. Fair warning, I'm going to be looking over here a lot. I've got my notes and then things they've said about K-State or vice versa. So if you see me looking over here, that's why. I'm not just trying to jump out of the way so it's less awkward. But either way, Will Riley, 4-star shooting guard. Guy can play. 6'7" as a shooting guard. He's a big-bodied dude. Now, it's a little bit early in his cycle. He's in the class of 2025. He hasn't been ranked by 24/7 Sports yet. He has, however, been ranked by On3. I'm going to read you that right now. Riley's ranked as a 4-star recruit. He's the 37th best player on the On3 industry rankings, as well as the 11th best shooting guard in the country and the 3rd best player in the state of Pennsylvania. His crystal ball currently projects K-State as the 2nd most likely team to go to. He's only got 2 teams that have been projected, and it's the New Jersey Institute of Technology, which I don't mean to dunk on, NJIT or anything like that, but it's not really a basketball school. I mean, I could be wrong, maybe dunk on me if you're from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, but that's not really where I see this kid going. K-State has the 2nd highest odds with 46.7 of the crystal ball projections going our way, and the other 53.3% is to the New Jersey school. I don't really think that's set in stone. I mean, he probably just hasn't received enough offers yet that it's like, these are the guys he's committed to. Has he visited K-State? No, but he has spoke on K-State. This is what he said about the coaching staff, about the team. This is where we're at. Everybody on this list has talked about K-State one way or another, so we're going to read that now. This is what Will Riley had to say. I did get to watch Kansas State play. They were unbelievable, especially their point guard, Marquise Noel. He was insane to watch. Just the way he read the floor and could find the open man he could still create for himself was unbelievable. Now, it doesn't say, I want to be this dude, I want to go to K-State, but it's at least interesting that he's showing initiative towards K-State, so that's a good thing to see. Whether I think that's the most likely on the list, in my personal opinion, I don't think so, but either way, he is the top, highest percentage guy looking at K-State, and I'm interested to see where he goes. He'll be in the class of 2025, so we've got a little bit more time until he starts visiting and going to different colleges. I'll keep you updated on the loop on that one. But the next player, and it's someone you've probably seen dominating headlines today, Darian Reed. He has been officially confirmed to be in Manhattan right now, and I'm sure you've all seen it, you've all heard about it, and you might be wondering what's going on with this guy. Darian Reed, he's a 4-star power forward in the class of 2024. He stands 6'7", he's a crazy athlete, like the dude can absolutely ball. Out of the entire class, he's the 40th overall recruit in the class of 2024, the 8th power forward in the country, and the 3rd player in the state of Georgia. The dude can go anywhere he wants. However, he's only visited one school. He's only taken a trip to Mississippi State. That's the one school he's been to other than K-State. He's now taking a trip, boots on the ground, he's in Manhattan. This is the dude in our town right now. 6'7" power forward, top 40 in the entire class of 2024. This would be a massive get for Jerome Tang and company. Castillo's right around there in the same rankings in terms of top 40 players. He would be a massive get for K-State. If we could land a guy like this at the power forward position, he'd go so well with David Castillo, it wouldn't even be funny. And just so I do mention it now, get it out of the way, you might be wondering, Castillo's the 31st overall player in the class of 2024. So if you're trying to base that off of where these guys are, that's where he's at. He said this about K-State. Kansas State, every time they come to my games, they're 4 deep, in which my brain would tell me it's Coach Ulrich, Coach Tang, Coach Jareem Dowling, and then probably Austin Carpenter. I don't exactly know the 4th player, but it could be Coach Bourne either way. So if I mess that up, I apologize. They text me almost every other day. We were supposed to do a home visit, but they had another recruit they had to go see, which is kind of interesting. I assume it's David Castillo, but whatever you want to say about that. It's tight with them. We're in contact all the time, and things are great. Now, that's a dude I think will be in Manhattan. You're a top 40 player in the class. You've only been to Mississippi State. I would like K-State's odds much better than I do Mississippi State. In terms of breakdown for where he's going to go crystal ball-wise, they do have K-State as the front runner with 31.4% of the crystal ball projections. Next up, South Carolina, 18.6%. We'll see what happens, but that's the dude in Manhattan right now. How about Big Pat Gongba? Now, I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if it's Ngongba or just Gongba. I know sometimes the end's silent, but I'm just gonna roll with it, so I apologize if I'm butchering the name, but we're gonna move on past it. The 4-star player they call Big Pat, which is much easier on me to say. Big Pat, 4-star center, 6'11" in the class of 2024, and this is the dude David Castillo has been, air quotes, bullying into coming to K-State. You know, just every comment, typing email in the comment section, typing, yo, come to the Cats. This is the dude. They've been former teammates, I believe, as McDonald's All-Americans. I could be wrong about that, but it feels like that's the situation. He has visited K-State. He's been to Manhattan. He's checked it out. He loved it. This is what he had to say about K-State. I've taken one official visit to K-State so far. My favorite part of the visit was probably walking around the campus and seeing everything. Which, granted, I know that sounds vague, but that is totally Manhattan, just going around and seeing what's going on campus. My relationship with Coach Jerome Tang is good. He reaches out to me like every other week, twice a week, checks in on me, and just asks how I'm doing. I feel like they play through their bigs, so they get the ball often and they let them make plays. I've got a really good relationship with Coach Dream Dowling. Now, Gongba is a really great player. In the entire nation, he's 48th ranked, and there's still time for him to climb up, and I do believe he's going to climb up even higher. He's the 7th ranked center in the nation, and then also the first player in the entire state of Virginia. This is a dude that K-State has a real chance to land. And I know that there's a lot of people where you say, well, K-State has a chance technically. This is a dude where all signs are pointing towards him. He's been in Manhattan, he's worn the lavender, he's taken the photos. The guy's got a chance, and it seems like people are really pulling for him to go to K-State. Whether that's true or not, we'll have to see, but I do think it's possible. I do think it's possible for sure. Now, he also mentioned one last thing I want to say before I move on to the next player. This is where he wants to go, by his words exactly. I want to go to a school that has a good culture that we do at his high school, a winning culture. I want to play for a coach who will develop me and get me ready to play at the next level. I want to look at the systems and styles of play too, make sure the coaches run plays for their bigs and play through their bigs. What exactly did he say about Manhattan? They play through the bigs, they let them make plays. That's a great fit. And even though he's recruited by Duke, he's recruited by UConn, a couple of the big top programs, he has visited Duke, he's visited K-State, there's still a real chance that he ends up in Manhattan. And I feel pretty good about him. We'll see what happens, but I do feel decent about him. In terms of percentages, 17% of the vote is going to K-State. The other 28.3% is going to Duke. They are the front runners. Then K-State is in second on that front, which is pretty impressive to think about. If you think about us compared to Duke, Kentucky, UConn, all these big schools, we're right in the middle, and we've got a real shot to land him. I think that it's good to see how he feels about where he wants to go. He wants to go to a culture. Manhattan is now a culture. Jerome Tang has established that culture immediately in Manhattan. It's been there, but not to the sense where we're landing 4-star and 5-star guys. This dude could very easily be a 5-star player, one of the best players in the AAU circuit, and I think he will still improve. Come time of him to commit, we'll see what happens there. But moving on to the player that a lot of you have seen, and I'm going to get this out of the way now. I don't think this is going to happen. However, Cooper Flagg, 5-star power forward, class of 2025. Cooper Flagg, if you haven't heard about him, this dude is the next Jesus Christ on the basketball court. The 2nd-ranked player in the entire class. Very, very good player. Cooper Flagg scored 52 points, almost had a quadruple-double maybe a week or two ago. The guy can play, and I want to read you his page here just to be safe so you get the idea. He's the 2nd-best player in the nation, 2nd-best player at his position, power forward, and the 2nd-best player in the state of Florida. Right behind Cameron Boozer, son of Carlos Boozer, NBA player. Really good guy. However, I think Flagg will very soon become the number 1 player across the board. He is too good of a player. He's a hybrid guy where he's a power forward. He's 6'8". He's probably going to be around 6'10" by the time he goes to college. This guy is the best player in the country. If you watch him play, you see he's the best player in the country. He does everything. He plays like a modern-day, unicorn. Like, we were all hype about Grant Nelson. If you saw Grant Nelson walked so this kid could run. This is Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg will be a top 5 NBA draft pick 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's going to be a reality. If he commits to K-State, that's a whole different thing. I mean, that's how you get a program back on the map. You catch arguably the best player in the entire country in the class of 2025. It's possible. And while it's not likely, he hasn't talked about K-State and raved about them, he did put out a tweet just saying, thanks for the opportunity. I'm so grateful for it. I mean, he probably has copied and pasted this tweet, full disclosure, saying, huge thanks to Coach Tang at Kansas State for extending me this opportunity. I'm blessed to announce that I've been given an offer to Kansas State. While I do think it's possible, once again, he's going to get sniped by somebody. Somebody's going to offer him $1 million in NIL. He's that good of a player. And it's not that K-State won't. It's not that, he wouldn't like K-State, but it's still just very up in the air. I mean, he's going to have over 50 college offers either way. Right now, it sits like this. He is 6.6% K-State, which is actually bigger than I thought. That's tied with just about everybody else, except for Maine. He's from Maine, and I know Maine is 10.5% of the vote to land him. That's not going to happen. I'm saying right now, this guy's not going to Maine. If this ages poorly and he goes to Maine, I'd be blown away. He's going to go to a big school that can get him, big numbers, get him big money, and then get him to the NBA. If he likes the culture, he'll go to K-State. He would instantly change any single team. If Cooper Flagg's on the court, you're a national champion contender. It doesn't matter who you're playing with. I'm going to be 100% honest. It's a real possibility that he comes to K-State. I don't know how likely it is. I know Kansas has extended offers, West Virginia's extended offers, and then obviously Duke, Kentucky, all the big schools. He hasn't really mentioned much about where he's going yet. He hasn't given us any inclination of where to go, but he's a good enough player that he can go anywhere in the country and make them good. K-State has an option to land that guy. That's different. Even if you don't land him, the fact that he even acknowledges you, that's got to feel good, at least a little bit. Moving on. Hudson Greer, my personal favorite out of this entire list. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Obviously, I have a little bit of bias to the guys that do visit K-State, but this is a player I think will have tremendous success at the college basketball level. Hudson Greer is a 4-star small forward, 6'6". He's in the class of 2025. He's actually got a game where he played against Cooper Flagg, and his team actually came out on top. They play very similar style to basketball. Hudson Greer's just a little bit younger, a little bit smaller. I mean, they're roughly the same age, but he just feels a little bit earlier on in that process. He's still a massive player. I mean, the guy's a great player. In the nation, he's the 54th best player in the class of 2025, the 10th player at his position of small forward, and the 7th best player in Texas. Now, in terms of visits, he hasn't taken any, so he doesn't really have anyone he's leaning towards, but he did talk K-State in one of his recruitment pages, and I'll read it to you now, what he said. This is what he has. Ulrich Maligi, I apologize if I'm messing that up. It could be Ulrich, I apologize. However, he's been in contact with him a lot, talking about Hudson Greer and the possibility of him joining up at K-State. He's basically said this: I love the way Coach Jerome Tang has all of his guys together. He has stayed in constant contact with my dad, always communicating with him about everything that's going on. I love their dog mentality from start to finish, knowing that everyone there is like that. That's a great compliment. Does it convince me that he's going to K-State? No. However, it is a great compliment to see. In terms of offers, in terms of percentages where he's at, Texas currently has the biggest chance to land him. He's a Texas player, so that's always just what they're leaning on. He has watched Texas the most of any college basketball team just because he's so local, and that's a top program by him. It is possible that he comes to K-State, but right now, Texas is dominating that front. They've got a 34% chance of landing him. Everybody else basically is 2%. Not because Texas is the front runner and they're like the best program to go to. It's just early enough in the process that nobody really can peg the guy yet as to where he's going. But he'd be a great player in Manhattan, and I'd be thrilled to see him play. He plays, and I know you're going to hate this at first, he plays like a combination of Grady Dick, stay with me, and Larry Bird. Except he's got a better sense of rebounding. The guy crashes the glass every single second. 6'6", he's probably going to grow to 6'8", 6'9" by college. The dude can play. I would be thrilled to see him in Manhattan. Do I think it's likely? Maybe. I just don't have enough to go off of right now to see where he's going, but K-State, it sounds like he's pretty much in the mix, and he even did comment on Coach Tang and where they're going from there. 2 players left here. I will try to speed through them. Isaiah Elahime. He is very, very, very interested in Kansas, so take this with a grain of salt. He's a former teammate of LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, who plays now for USC. He's taking a visit to USC, I believe, soon. Might even be right now. I apologize on the dates. The guy can play. He's a top 20 player in the entire country. Let me read you his stats in that front right now. 17th nationwide in the class of 2024, the 7th small forward in the country, and the 3rd best player in the state of California. The guy has every right to be one of the best players in college basketball. More than likely, he's going to be a top 10 NBA pick in the next couple of years. We'll see if he goes one and done or not. But more than likely, that's what's going to happen. This is something that I find interesting. The game he tuned into, K-State encouraged him, hey, let's watch this game. He watched the overtime game where K-State took down KU. The 2 schools he's talked about have been KU, K-State. Obviously, he's got a couple offers from Duke and Kentucky, I believe, as well. This is what he had to say about K-State. The game was dope. He just watched it on TV, wasn't there in person. It was very high level. It was a dogfight. The lob in overtime was pretty crazy, too. And then they said, it's all been good. Coach Dream has been reaching out to me for some time, and the coaching staff has been in touch with my dad for the most part. But some of the coaching staff is from St. Croix, the same place where my father's from. So they've connected over that and just had really good conversations. Everything is still at the beginning stages, just building relationships through time, but I love what the coaching staff is doing and how they go about things. I'm excited about it. Now, in there he did mention Coach Dowling is from the exact same place that his dad's from. They're very close in terms of that. So he's known Elahime for a long time. Is it possible he comes to K-State? Yes. I don't really have enough to go off of. Right now, he's been dominated by Kansas in terms of projections. 62.6% of the vote is going to the Kansas Jayhawks, 1.6% for K-State and a bunch of other programs. The only school he's visited is KU, which is what they're basing this off. So don't feel too discouraged about that, I would say. But it is a possibility. So don't just, throw the baby out with the bath. This dude can play. He might end up in Manhattan. It's a possibility. The last player on our list, Malik Thomas, K-State has found themselves in conversation with. The 5-star point guard in the class of 2025. Standing 6'4", the guy can play. It's pretty early in his recruiting process. I will let you know that now. But in terms of rankings, he's the 6th best player in the entire class of 2025 nationwide. The 1st point guard in the country, the top player in the country, and the number 1 player in the state of Pennsylvania. The dude is unbelievable. He's got offers from just about everybody already. It's still early in that process, but he hasn't visited anybody quite yet. However, he did comment on K-State. This is what he had to say here. They basically asked, hey, where you want to visit? Where are you at? He said Duke, UConn, Michigan, Kentucky, Kansas State, and North Carolina. Those are the schools he mentioned. K-State in there with the so-called, blue bloods of college basketball. Kentucky, UConn national champion. Duke, you know what their history is. Michigan, you know what their history is. Same thing with North Carolina. These are some established programs. And then K-State finds themselves in the middle of that. For a top 10 player in the entire class of 2025, that's a realistic possibility. And I don't want to say that, we're going to go 7 for 7 here, because we're not. If we go 1 for 7, it's a field day. These guys are all incredible. 1 through 7, it doesn't really matter what the projection is right now, because, I don't think anybody would have guessed that we would have landed Arthur Kaluma in the transfer portal. However, we did. And also, before David Castillo visited K-State, did any of us think that was possible? Not entirely. However, we're at a spot now where we could land guys like this. This is the future of K-State basketball, and it's beautiful. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. I appreciate you guys being here. Going forward, I'm going to keep talking K-State. I just wanted to make a quick freshman video talking about who could potentially be with the Wildcats here in a couple of years. But that's where we're at right now, so thank you guys once again for watching. If you're interested, go ahead and consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton, and I appreciate it so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Cats!